From advertising to software as a service to data.
Across all of our programs and clients, we've seen a 55 to 65% open rate.
Getting brands authentically integrated into content performs better than TV advertising.
Typical lifespan of an article is about 24 to 36 hours.
If we're reaching out to the right person with the right message and a clear call to action, then it's just a matter of timing.
Welcome to the MarTech Podcast, and I Hear Everything production. In this podcast, you'll hear the stories of world-class marketers that use technology to drive business results and achieve career success. We'll unearth the real-world experiences of some of the brightest minds in the marketing and technology space so you can learn the tools, tips, and tricks they've learned along the way. Now here's the host of the MarTech Podcast, Benjamin Shapiro.
Welcome to the MarTech Podcast. I'm your host, Benjamin Shapiro, and today we're going to discuss how you can prepare for the future of marketing. Joining us is Constantine Yurevich, who is the CEO and founder of SegmentStream, which is a conversion modeling platform that helps to measure and increase digital marketing performance in a modern cookieless world where existing analytics and attribution tools are no longer reliable. And today, Constantine and I are going to talk about preparing for Google Chrome's cookie restrictions. All right, here's my conversation with Constantine Yurevich, the CEO and founder of SegmentStream. Constantine, welcome to the MarTech Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Very excited to have you as our guest. Very excited to talk a little bit about the future. Do you have your crystal ball ready to tell us what we can expect down the road for marketers?
Yes, for sure, and happy to share my thoughts with you.
Wonderful. All right, well, let's rub that crystal ball. I think one of the big things that marketers are thinking about this year is we've been hearing about the deprecation of third-party cookies for a long time. We've seen Safari and Firefox already go down that route, and now Google is going to be restricting access to third-party cookie data. Talk to me about how marketers should be preparing for Google Chrome's cookie restrictions.
So I have a very interesting opinion about this. First of all, I hear a lot about cookieless future, about cookieless marketing, and a lot of marketers are looking into the direction of moving away from normal analytics and switching to something that is cookieless, aggregated, etc. So from my perspective, all this cookieless future is a little bit confused because a lot of marketers think that cookies are going to disappear. So the idea is that cookies will not disappear in any observable future. And of course, most of the internet is working on cookies. The main idea is that third-party cookies are going to be deprecated. And this is a big difference between first-party cookies and third-party cookies. So when we talk about third-party cookies not going to influence analytics as we know it right now. Third-party cookies not going to influence the way how you track conversions from your websites. And this way, it's a little bit early to say that analytics will stop working just because third-party cookie is going to be deprecated. And the difference between Google Chrome and Safari is that Safari goes much, much further. So Safari has ITP, which actually blocks first-party cookies, and Safari has a lot of restrictions for iOS 14.5 users, where it's not allowed to track them at all. So there is a big difference of what Google plans to implement and Safari already implemented.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about that. First off, you called out the distinction between first-party and third-party cookies. First-party cookies being a cookie that you put on your own website to understand user behavior. Let's go through what the purpose of the first-party cookie is. What does a first-party cookie actually do for marketers, and how is that different than the third-party cookies from other people's properties?
First-party cookies' main purpose is to allow you understand and stitch customer journey between multiple visits, multiple sessions, or even between multiple page views. So when someone comes to your website and visits multiple pages, the only way for you to understand that these two pages were viewed by the same user is just to stitch it using cookie. So this is actually how all web analytics is working right now. When we talk about third-party cookies is when some third-party pixel or, for example, like pixel or script places their own cookie while working on the third-party domain name. So it means that, for example, you have Facebook and Facebook has their own pixel on your website and someone visits your website and Facebook is able to track your behavior across website, cross domain. So if you go to another domain name, Facebook will also understand that this is exactly the same user. So this is what we call third-party cookies. And deprecation will be related only to third-party cookies.
So you're still able to drop a cookie on your own website to understand what your user behavior is, to understand how user sessions are related to each other. Is it the same person that's coming back? What behaviors are they exhibiting? You won't be able to use a cookie from a different vendor to understand how that vendor has taken activities across other websites. So it seems like this deprecation is more harmful to advertisers, right? If you're looking for somebody that has exhibited a behavior across the web, then basically understanding that is going to get more difficult. Talk to me about the impact for advertisers with cookie deprecation.
So, of course, advertisers will see decrease in the performance because some tracking capabilities are removed. But of course, mostly we will see consolidation of the advertising market and market of publishers. We will see that mostly ad tech companies that do not have their own inventory, that do not have their own website like Facebook and Google, and possibility to track users using first-party cookies will just disappear and will not be able to function anymore. For companies like Google, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and other companies that have their own inventory, actually, they are able to show advertising based on their own data and based on first-party cookies. So for them, the biggest problem will be that it will be not as easy to track customer behavior across different websites, but still it is solvable because most of the users are still authenticated on different browsers and different devices within Facebook and Google will still be able to place for first-party cookies or find some other way to understand this customer behavior across different platforms and different websites.
You also mentioned that the third-party cookie deprecation is different for Safari as opposed to what's happening with Chrome. Talk to me about the difference between the two platforms. Obviously, there's Firefox as well, being the other major browser. Maybe even people use Internet Explorer still, and I'm not sure how or why. But talk to me about the difference between the browsers and what they're doing when it comes to third-party cookie deprecation.
So with regards to third-party cookies, I guess a limitation will be the same across all these browsers. But when it comes to Safari, it goes much further. So it also deprecates a lot of first-party cookies. So with development of ITP, we can see that even first-party cookies are erased from the browser after 1 to 7 days. And this is actually what made the major impact on analytics as we know it now, especially for companies that have longer sales cycle and when customers do not buy from the first click. And this is a big problem when customer comes to the website from advertising, but eventually makes a purchase, for example, 8 days or 10 days later. There is no way to stitch the customer journey because cookies are just erased from Safari. So I would say this is the biggest difference between what Chrome is doing and what Safari is doing.
All right. So I guess that leaves the question of, well, what do we do with this information? Google is going to be deprecating the use of third-party cookies. Your analytics should still work for you understanding what's happening with your visitors on your website, but getting access to cross-web tracking is basically going away. What does that mean marketers should be doing moving forward?
There is no need to wait for Google to deprecate cookies. Actually, the problem already happened, and it happened even before Safari introduced their ITP or other restrictions. Actually, the problem with analysis happened many, many years ago when visitors started using many devices and customer journeys became very complex. So, for example, imagine we live in an ideal world and we don't have any cookie restrictions. We don't have any problems with third-party cookies, with ITP, etc. But even in this perfect world, if you come to the website from your, you click on your Facebook ad and you open in-app browser of Facebook, you click on the ad, then you decide to switch to Safari, and then eventually you come home and you decide to go to the website again from your desktop, there are going to be already 3 types of cookies without any restrictions. And the biggest problem is you just have 3 different devices and 3 different browsers, and each browser has its own set of cookies. So when we talk about cookie problem, we're not talking about the issue of cookie being disappeared or that it will be not possible to place a cookie on the website. Mostly we talk that cookies are not reliable to understand marketing performance. Cookies are not reliable because there is no way to stitch customer journey using cookies anymore. So this is the biggest issue when we talk about cookieless future, not that third-party cookie is going to be deprecated, and even not the ITP problem, even though it's quite huge for companies with longer sales cycles. Our biggest problem is cross-device and cross-browser customer journey. So this is the problem that marketers need to understand how to solve.
It's not just that third-party cookies are going away so you can't rely on the Facebooks or Googles of the world to be able to understand who your future customers are. It's also that figuring out what's happening across browsers and devices is getting more complicated. Look, the future might not be reliant on third-party cookies. It doesn't mean that all of your analytics are going to go away. We're just going to have to pivot and look at different data sources to understand what's happening with our customers. And that wraps up this episode of the MarTech Podcast. Thanks for listening to my conversation with Constantine Yurevich, the CEO and founder of SegmentStream. Join us again tomorrow when Constantine and I continue our conversation talking about what marketing strategies you should retire. If you can't wait until our next episode and you'd like to learn more about Constantine, you can find a link to his LinkedIn profile in our show notes, or you can visit his company's website, which is SegmentStream.com. Just one more link in our show notes I'd like to tell you about. If you didn't have a chance to take notes while you were listening to this podcast, head over to martechpod.com where we have summaries of all of our episodes and contact information for our guests. You can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter, and you can even send us your topic suggestions or your marketing questions, which we'll answer live on our show. Of course, you can always reach out on social media. Our handle is martechpod, MarTechPod, on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or you can contact me directly. My handle is Ben J. Shap, BenJShap. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you want a daily stream of marketing and technology knowledge in your podcast feed, we're going to publish an episode every day this year. So hit the subscribe button in your podcast app, and we'll be back in your feed tomorrow morning. All right, that's it for today. But until next time, my advice is to just focus on keeping your customers happy.